Now that you've graded an entire pile of unit assessments, there are two things remaining. First of all, how do we get this data into a place where you can see progress over time and where we can analyze that data? And second, you need something to put in the gradebook, and how can we make that as efficient and effective as possible? So what you're going to do is you're going to find your formative data tracker, and so this one's just an example. If you go to the Data tab, you are just going to go and you're going to enter in the basic information from the Unit 1 grading sheet. Now I'll move that over so we can see them both. So right here you'll see the code. This is useful for data analytics. There's a description right here. You can summarize your own description or just copy and paste this from the electronic copy. So right. And it's helpful here to make sure that you have some description just so that you know what was assessed and what wasn't. So for example, with the second one, we're going to add in, we didn't actually do words and pictures. So we would just want to note that it was percents, decimals, and fractions only. This is really important. Note that it is a summative assessment. This is a unit assessment, and it is a unit assessment. So this is saying where the data came from. These things right here, summative unit assessment, date, those are things that are going to affect some of the auto calculation features that are done with this. So just make sure that basic data is in there. You'll just enter a column. So insert column to the left for each of the things on here. Let's see, in terms of ease of entry, the order doesn't really matter, but so you might as well go and write them from left to right. I'm going to move this over, and so at the end you should just have a set of columns, one column for each of these lines on the grading sheet. So I'm going to pause and do that, but that's just what you would do. Okie dokie, here we go. I've got it all set up. Cognitively, it's easiest if I'm going in the exact same order that they are listed right here. And so now I'm just going to take student 1 and I'm just going to go and enter their numbers right down the list. So here's student 1, 3, 4, 2, 4, 4, 1. Whoops, okay, help zip tab. 3, 4, 2, 4, 4, 1, 3. Okay, and then same thing with student 2, just go on right down the list. Okay, once you've got that data in, the next question, of course, is what do you put in there for the gradebook? Do you need to re-enter all these things in both places? Like, what's up? So it does take a bit of time to do the data entry, but the nice thing is that once you've done that, you have a record such that you can go back and there's some auto calculation features in the spreadsheet that will let you see how the student did on this particular learning target over time. But for more immediate needs, if you go with this little grade test tab right down here, you can select the test date, so whatever date you put it in on. If you have two different tests and you want to give two different overall grades for them, just make sure they're on different dates. You just play with the dates a little bit. But what you see is it sees that it pulls over all the data that you just entered without you needing to do anything more. And then right now it's set to just calculate the average of each of those lines on the grading sheet. And then if you scroll down, you will see that we set these cutoffs here for what constitutes an A, an A minus, a B, etc. Right now this is just a standard 4-point grading scale, except that A is a little bit, there's a little bit of room for error in terms of a student getting an A, and a pure exact 4.0, because they can't get above a 4.0, is an A+, but everything else is pretty much just the GPA scale. This is adjustable, so if you want to change this to 3.5 or whatever, You can absolutely do that, but it's going to cycle through and it's going to say, okay, this was their average across all these lines, and then here is the test grade that you can just go and pop in the gradebook directly. If you want to get a little bit more into more sophisticated grading things, there are some features in this that would let you say, okay, I've assessed this standard on multiple different unit assessments, and I just sort of want to average together all the students know instead of having that being repeated. If you want to look into some of that complicated stuff, talk to me. But if you are perfectly happy just saying, I need a test grade, boom, here's my test grade, then this feature is right there for you. What I'm hoping that we've done with these resources is saved you enough time writing assessments and figuring out how to grade assessments and all of those pieces of things, that you can take the time that you would have spent totaling up points and writing stuff and then doing data analysis later on, and be using some of that time to go and say, okay, let's make sure that we've tracked what our students are actually know, and be able to think a little bit more as you go through grading about what students know, and then that you'll still come out ahead in terms of having more efficient grading procedures. Thanks for watching.